Once I found out Mama was cool with what was going on, and I felt like if Pimp was alive, would he speak on it?
Yeah.
I absolutely believe he would.
My two friends, I definitely felt I needed to step in. Master P wanted to be respected, and Pimp C wanted to be respected. To get both parties on one accord where the subject of respect, that was the solution.
The dude came to Jay Prince to get permission to kill Chad, right?
Damn.
And Jay Prince like, no, that's, we got a lot of money on the line, this my guy, and they gaffled him up.
Every region's got its legends, but down south, none hit harder or ran deeper than the wild story of Master P and Pimp C, two powerhouse men chasing dominance in a world where music, money, and the streets all mixed into one dangerous game. Hotel rooms turned into war zones. Calls went out to Houston for backup that could have ended in blood, and one of rap's most feared CEOs had to jump in fast before everything exploded. This wasn't just rap beef, it was pride, power, and pure survival, and the scars still run deep today. This was more than music, it was a clash of business and brotherhood. The South's always had its myths, the kind of stories that never made the headlines but spread through mixtapes, green rooms, and studio whispers from folks who swore they saw it all unfold. And right at the center, the crossroads between Texas and Louisiana, two states with totally different cultures but the same fire for respect. This is the untold story of Pimp C, the fearless voice of UGK with that raw Texas soul, and Master P, the unstoppable general who built No Limit Records into a straight-up empire. What was supposed to be a powerhouse collab soon turned into one of the most intense, street-soaked clashes in Southern rap history. And what caused it all? Something so simple, yet deadly in the game: money and respect. By the mid-1990s, Pimp C wasn't just laying verses. He was producing, building hits, and crafting sounds that moved from Houston's underground clubs to booming car stereos all across the South. The man had soul, rhythm, and a fire no label could tame. And that's exactly what made this story explode. While Master P was deep in his grind, pushing tapes out the trunk and flipping his Richmond hustle into a full-blown New Orleans empire, he was already plotting his next big takeover. His goal? To own the entire rap game. So when his path crossed with Pimp C and UGK, it looked like a win for everyone. UGK brought that raw Texas credibility, that Southern stamp of approval no money could buy, while Master P brought reach, connections, distribution, and a machine ready to blow any artist up overnight. Their biggest link-up came in 1996 on the track Break 'Em Off Something from P's Ice Cream Man album. That song was a certified Southern anthem, introducing Master P to a whole new audience and giving No Limit Records the kind of momentum that couldn't be ignored. But behind that success, things weren't as sweet as they looked. For Pimp C, that track came with headaches, business issues, royalty fights, credit disputes, and all the who really owns what drama that comes with the music industry.
I named my company No Limit because there's gonna be no limit to my success. And I named myself Master P because I said I'm a master whatever I do.
Outspoken, he could rap, he could sing, he could produce, he was multi-talented.
Normally that kind of stuff stays behind closed doors, but not this time. Once Break 'Em Off Something started blowing up, questions started flying about how much Pimp C actually got paid. People close to him claimed he felt shorted, like the numbers didn't match the work he put in. And knowing Pimp, that wasn't just business, that was personal. He had poured his soul into that track, the beat, the hook, the bounce, everything that gave it that Texas flavor and made Master P sound bigger than ever. To feel like his work wasn't respected or credited right, that cut deep. But the real turning point didn't go down in the studio, it went down over the phone. And get this, it wasn't even Pimp C on the line. It was his mother, Weslyn Monroe, better known as Mama Wes. Everyone in the South knew her. She wasn't just his mom, she was his manager, his protector, and the one who handled all his business with a sharp tongue and zero fear.
Mr. P had cussed out C's mom on the phone. So Pimp got on stage that night and he said, limit, and went off.
I built No Limit on $10,000. I put up my own posters, I went to every hood. I started taking my van and going from hood to hood, selling my CDs. That's the whole thing. I started selling it out of the.
One day, Master P called up Mama Wes, pressing hard for Pimp C to pull up to Baton Rouge for a session. But there was one problem. Pimp already had a gig lined up with an independent artist who had paid him the same $10,000 that Master P was offering. Mama Wes stood firm. Business was business, and she made it clear that the indie artist money was just as legit. But Master P wasn't used to hearing no. He pushed back, allegedly telling her that the record she was protecting wasn't going to make noise, while his track was destined to blow up nationwide. And that's when things took a sharp turn. It wasn't just about scheduling anymore, it was about respect and power. Mama West wasn't the type to fold or let anyone talk down to her. She told him flat out that he couldn't just dictate how her son moved no matter who he was. The tension exploded. Words were exchanged, and those words cut way deeper than business. Pimp C overheard the whole thing, and that's when it became personal. In his world, family was sacred, and disrespecting his mother, even through a heated call, crossed a line you just couldn't come back from. To him, it wasn't about a missed session or a late record. It was about honor. Even though Master P reportedly called back about 30 minutes later trying to smooth things over and agreed to record the next day, that olive branch didn't fix the damage. Sure, they laid the track, and yeah, it became a hit. But the vibe between them, it was never the same again. From that point on, Pimp C carried that chip heavy. On stage, he didn't hold back. He told fans exactly what went down, letting it be known that Master P had disrespected his mama. Whether that was a direct quote or just how Pimp interpreted the heat of the moment didn't matter. The crowd took his word as gospel.
Man, I'm 16 years old. We doing shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we really wasn't no serious money. I think we were getting $500 a show.
Soon, entire audiences were chanting against No Limit and against Master P himself. It wasn't just one show. It was city after city, with the story growing bigger every time he told it. Pimp wasn't just venting, he was declaring war, and back then in hip-hop, public humiliation wasn't just drama, it was dangerous. Respect was everything in the South, and once you tried to take that away in front of a crowd, there was gonna be a reaction. Master P wasn't the kind of man to let anyone play with his name, especially after building a whole empire off strength, loyalty, and dominance. Ignoring that kind of public call-out, not a chance. Both No Limit and UGK were rising fast, two forces representing different sides of Southern hustle. And when it came to Master P, his story still stands as one of hip-hop's most legendary blueprints for independence. He didn't stroll into some record label begging for a deal or hoping to get discovered. Nah, he built his dream brick by brick, starting way out in Richmond, California, nowhere near the southern scene that would later crown him king. Back then, No Limit wasn't even a brand yet. It was just P, grinding solo, selling his CDs hand to hand, out the trunk, one parking lot at a time. His grind was relentless. Every dollar flipped back into the business, every tape pushing his name a little further. By the time he finally moved his base back to New Orleans, he wasn't thinking like a rapper anymore. He was thinking like a boss. Master P figured out early that the real money wasn't in fame, it was in ownership. Owning your masters, controlling your distribution, and building your team in-house, that's how you kept your freedom. And once No Limit Records was born, it turned into a full-blown machine. The brand was loud, flashy, and impossible to ignore, gold tanks, camouflage covers, and music dropping non-stop. He had a roster stacked with names like Silk the Shocker, C-Murder, Mia X, Mystical, Fiend, and later Snoop Dogg himself. It felt like there was a new No Limit release hitting shelves every single week. Priority Records handled the national distribution, but the heart of the hustle stayed Southern, local, gritty, and grounded in that mindset that nobody could outwork Master P. Meanwhile, about 300 miles west, UGK was carving out a totally different path, one built on soul, struggle, and the raw truth of Southern living.
C has always been his own man. When he make up his mind to do whatever it is he want to do, that's what he gonna do.
Port Arthur wasn't the kind of city people linked with rap, and it was small, industrial, and quiet compared to Houston or Dallas. But right there, in that overlooked corner of Texas, Pimp C and Bun B were cooking up something that would change Southern music forever. Pimp wasn't just a rapper, he was a producer, composer, and straight-up visionary. He was building a sound that didn't sound like New York, LA, or even New Orleans. It was something deeper, something soaked in Texas soul, thick, bluesy melodies mixed with church organs, heavy funk, and that gritty thump of the Roland 808. He called it country rap tunes, and that label stuck like glue. Bun B, on the other hand, was the anchor, calm, calculated, with a voice that demanded respect every time he touched the mic. When Bun rapped, you listened. Pimp C was the wild card, unpredictable, passionate, and emotional. One minute, he'd be fiery and confrontational, and the next, he'd be smooth enough to sing a hook that stayed in your head all day. Together, they created the perfect balance, street wisdom meets soulful rebellion. They didn't chase validation from New York or LA. They told their own stories, used their own slang, and made their own rules, and that's exactly why people loved them. And this is where the two paths started to cross. By the mid-1990s, No Limit was rising fast, and Master P was on a mission to link up with respected Southern artists who could give his movement even more weight. UGK was already legendary in Texas and Louisiana. Pimp C's beats had that raw grit Master P loved, and Bun's verses added instant credibility to any track. When they finally joined forces on Break 'Em Off Something in 1996, it was magic. a fusion of two southern powerhouses that shook up the entire scene. The track became one of Master P's biggest breakout moments and a proud victory for Southern rap, but behind that success, the cracks were already forming. See, Master P thought like a businessman first and an artist second. Every move he made was about leverage, ownership, and empire building. Pimp C, he was built different, uncompromising to his core. To him, music came first, respect came first, and principle came before profit. Money was nice, sure, but not if it meant bending what he believed in, and that's where the storm started brewing between these two Southern giants. Once the disses started slipping into the music and live shows, that's when things really got loud. The tension wasn't just whispered behind closed doors anymore, it was playing out in front of crowds and blasting through speakers. And Pimp C, he was never the type to bite his tongue. He turned his frustration into art, throwing slick, coded jabs on records. One minute he'd be talking about fake hustlers, and the next he'd drop a line about someone trying to control his time and disrespect his family. To the casual listener, it sounded like regular rap talk, but people close to the situation knew those bars were aimed straight at Master P. And let's be real, Pimp C was a character. He had that bold, unpredictable energy that made people stop and listen, so when he sent a lyrical shot, everyone felt it. But Master P had his own way of responding, and it wasn't through sneak disses. Instead of wordplay, he flexed through power moves. No Limit's whole vibe became more militant, more polished, like a marching band mixed with street hustle. The branding was loud, the message even louder. The tank runs this. Everything from the album covers to the hooks screamed dominance. P didn't have to say names, and the message was crystal clear. We're bigger, we're stronger, we can't be touched. It was a flex of empire versus authenticity. No Limit's military precision against UGK's raw, soulful Texas grit. And fans, they started connecting the dots. In Texas, people would replay UGK's verses, circle certain lines, and whisper, "That's about No Limit." Meanwhile, in Louisiana, loyalty ran deep. Master P wasn't just a rapper anymore. He was the face of New Orleans hustle, the man who showed the world how to win without a major label. So when UGK threw shade, No Limit fans brushed it off, saying, "That's just jealousy. Texas can't handle the tank's rise."
Pimp C, man. Listen, bro. The man is such a character, bro.
P had the gloves on and was going to work on them. You know, and came up in the hotel room on him. And that was pretty much how that went.
But it wasn't that simple. By that time, UGK already had the Southern Underground in a chokehold. They didn't need clout from anybody. This wasn't just rap beef anymore, but it was two visions of the South colliding. One ran on business and branding, the other ran on heart and authenticity. And when those worlds crashed, the aftershocks shook the entire Southern rap scene. UGK had something that money couldn't buy: credibility. Their sound wasn't just music, it was part of Texas car culture, baked into every slab ride and every country rap tune blasting through the South. And when Pimp C dropped subliminals, they weren't just disses, and they were warnings. He wanted everyone to know loud and clear he wasn't anybody's employee, wasn't anybody's soldier. If proving that meant burning bridges, then he was more than ready to light the match. There's a performance from that era that fans still talk about today, a wild moment that showed just how deep this feud had gotten. Before Pimp even rapped a single bar, he stopped the music, grabbed the mic, and told the crowd about a hoe dude from Louisiana who disrespected his mama. The energy shifted instantly, and then right there he had thousands of fans chanting in unison, "F Master P." That moment wasn't subliminal anymore. It was live, raw, and unforgettable. The whole thing spread through the South like wildfire, burned into fans' memories forever.
He's like, "Yeah, man, P came in here and beat up on my body."
My two friends, I definitely felt I needed to step in. Master P wanted to be respected, and Pimp C wanted to be respected. To get both parties on one accord, where the subject of respect, that was the solution.
From that night on, every UGK verse that sounded like a diss carried double the weight. The tension had jumped from the booth to the streets. Fans split into sides: Texas versus Louisiana, UGK versus No Limit. Every UGK track with a slick jab became a battle cry for the Lone Star State, while every new No Limit drop with its shiny videos and endless features felt like P's way of flexing his dominance. The beef wasn't just music anymore, it had become a movement, and every Southern rap fan was forced to pick a side. But then came the breaking point, the night everything went too far. Master P's next move didn't come through a song, and it came in a hotel room. Pimp C was staying at the Residence Inn in Sugar Land, Texas, working on Ridin' Dirty. It wasn't his usual spot. His go-to downtown hotel was booked up, so he ended up in Sugarland, which just so happened to be deep in Master P's territory, and that's where things took a dark turn. According to multiple accounts there from friends, family, even Pimp himself, one night his hotel door was forced open. Several masked men rushed in, and among them Pimp recognized one familiar presence: Master P. The story goes that they held Pimp down while P, wearing gloves, started pistol whipping him, across the face, across the body, and blow after blow. This wasn't just a fight, it was meant to send a message, and when it was all over, P allegedly pulled off his mask, looked Pimp dead in the eyes, and made sure he knew exactly who had done it. The streets never forgot that story, and from that night forward, the feud between Pimp C and Master P was no longer about words, it was war. The aftermath was ugly, no way around it. Pimp C walked away from that hotel room with a concussion, and according to Mama West, he might have even suffered fractured ribs. But the real damage wasn't just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, deep. For Pimp, a fight was supposed to be man-to-man, fair, straight up, and win or lose, you handle it directly. But being jumped, held down, and beaten while another man swung on him, that felt like a violation of everything he stood for, and the timing couldn't have been worse. UGK was right in the middle of crafting Ridin' Dirty, the very album that would go on to define Southern rap. But after that night, Pimp C couldn't focus. He was angry, in pain, and mentally spinning. Studio sessions stalled, the energy was off, and months passed with no progress. Even his crew later admitted that for a while, he lost all inspiration to record. It took time for him to even want to step back in the booth. And if that attack was meant to end the beef, it did the exact opposite. Instead of closing the chapter, it poured gasoline on it. Pimp C felt betrayed, disrespected, and humiliated. The kind of humiliation that sticks to your soul. At that point, it wasn't about music or business anymore, and it was personal. Bruised pride and Southern tempers don't mix well, and everyone who knew these two understood how fast words could turn into violence. That's exactly what had happened. A disagreement over business turned into a chain reaction of threats, retaliation, and bad blood that easily could have ended in tragedy. Both men were powerful, both proud, both too stubborn to back down, and once the streets started taking sides, there was no easy way out. As the years rolled into the early 2000s, all that weight, the trauma, the paranoia, the endless beef, it started catching up to Pimp C. He was still recording, still trying to keep UGK alive, but inside, he was burned out. He had become one of the South's most respected voices, but he was also fighting demons nobody saw. The hotel assault, the constant tension, the feeling that everyone had a target on his back. It left him raw and restless. Then came the breaking point, the case that changed everything. In 2002, Pimp C was sentenced to 8 years in prison for aggravated assault. It stemmed from an altercation where a gun was allegedly involved, the kind of situation that wasn't rare in his world, but this time it finally caught up with him. When the sentence dropped, it hit like a gut punch, not just to UGK, but to the entire South. Pimp C wasn't just another rapper, he was the cornerstone of Texas rap. The voice that demanded respect for country rap tunes, the man who gave the South its swagger, and just like that, he was gone, leaving behind a legacy built on raw talent, loyalty, and scars that never fully healed.
They wasn't really concerned about me or my well-being. They were just trying to cover their in case something went down and I got hurt.
The moment Pimp C got locked up, Bun B wasted no time launching the now legendary Free Pimp C campaign. Mixtapes, t-shirts, stage shoutouts, it was everywhere. It wasn't just a slogan, it became a movement. From Houston to Atlanta to New York, artists showed love, throwing his name into songs, interviews, and award show speeches. But while the culture was chanting for his freedom, the reality inside was a whole different story. Pimp C refused to do his time in protective custody. As he later explained, he couldn't stand the thought of sitting in a cage by himself, cut off from everybody. So he stayed in general population, moving through different Texas prison units like any other inmate. And surprisingly, that choice made him a folk hero inside those walls. He was respected by other prisoners, a symbol that someone from their world could make it big, stay real, and still walk the yard with his head high. But those walls didn't calm his paranoia. If anything, they intensified it. Pimp later revealed that some guards treated him like a target, and being locked up in Texas meant constantly running into people who either hated him for who he was or wanted something from him. On one side, he tried to stay productive, writing verses, connecting with younger artists, and keeping his creativity alive. But on the other side, he was boiling inside, replaying every betrayal, every disrespect, every scar from the streets. And one name he could never shake from his mind? Master P. That hotel room story haunted him, even behind bars. For Pimp, it was unfinished business. And on the outside, it became fuel for rumors and street whispers. Stories started spreading about heated run-ins between UGK affiliates and No Limit soldiers, small altercations in clubs, crews eyeing each other at festivals and unspoken tension in the air. None of it ever turned into full-blown war, but make no mistake, the tension was real. And with Pimp locked up, every rumor hit harder, feeding his distrust. He didn't know who was looking out for him and who might have been plotting against him when he got out. Then came the scariest part. Whispers that someone inside Master P's circle had allegedly called down to Houston, asking for permission to take him off the board completely. Now, if you know the South, you know nothing that heavy moves without a green light, so when word of that hit the streets, it sent shockwaves through both camps. Whether it was true or not, it showed how deep the paranoia ran and how close this feud came to turning from music beef into something deadly real. In Houston, all roads led to one man, James Prince. Jay Prince was the quiet storm of Southern rap, the type of power player whose name carried more weight than most rappers could ever dream of. Nothing major moved in Texas without his blessing. If somebody wanted to greenlight a hit, they had to check in with him first.
Came to Jay Prince to get permission to kill Chad, right? Damn. And Jay Prince like, no, we got a lot of money on the line. This my guy, and they gaffled him up.
According to people close to Pimp C, the call was made. Someone from Master P's circle allegedly reached out, asking for the go-ahead to take Pimp out permanently, but Jay Prince wasn't having it. He shut that down immediately. Still, even though Prince's words stopped things from exploding into full-on chaos, the fact that the call even happened shook Pimp C to his core. To him, it confirmed everything he already feared, that he was surrounded by enemies, that people he once worked with wanted him gone. The whole situation wasn't just about one feud anymore. It was proof of how dangerous the industry could really be when pride, paranoia, and power all mixed together. The years behind bars had already taken their toll. Pimp admitted later that prison drained him financially, that even with people like Bun B and Jay-Z trying to hold him down, money was disappearing faster than it came in. He came out angrier, more cautious, and less trusting than ever, but also more clear-headed. So when he finally walked out in December 2005, free after 3 long years, he carried 2 things with him: the scars and the perspective. And that's why one of the very first things he did was try to make peace and close old chapters. In later interviews, Master P himself revealed that Pimp C reached out personally with an apology. He recalled Pimp saying, "Big dog, I apologize to you. That was my bad. It was raw, direct, and honest. The kind of truth that hits you right in the chest." For the first time, Pimp admitted that some of his wildest moments, his paranoia and that fiery anger had been fueled by drugs, pressure, and pain. He wasn't making excuses, just telling it like it was. Years of stress, betrayal, and self-medication had clouded his mind during the ugliest parts of that feud. Mama Wes even confirmed it. She said Master P was one of the first people to call her son after he got home, ready to put the past behind them. That call didn't just mark the end of a beef, it showed growth, maturity, and the painful cost of surviving the game. Pimp C had been through the fire and made it out alive, and battered but wiser, still holding his crown as one of the South's most authentic voices. They finally talked. After years of bad blood, pain, and paranoia, Master P and Pimp C sat down and let it all go. The two even discussed working together again, hoping to bring things full circle, back to the place where their southern bond first began. But even in that moment of peace, there was still a shadow hanging over everything. Pimp C had spent years believing someone wanted him dead. Living with that kind of fear changes a person. Being locked up while rumors and threats swirled around him left marks that time couldn't fully erase. He carried that weight in his chest even when he smiled for the cameras. The spiral he survived, jail time, paranoia, whispers of hits, and deep distrust had nearly swallowed him whole. But when he came home, he made a real effort to rebuild, to create something new, to finally move forward. The scars from the Master P beef never completely disappeared, but they were finally laid to rest. The two men reached a fragile understanding, one built on growth and the hard lessons that come from surviving the streets and the industry. But the heartbreak came too soon. Just as Pimp C was finding peace, he ran out of time. On December 4th, 2007, the world woke up to the devastating news. Pimp C had passed away. It was a loss that rocked the South to its core. Years later, Mama Wes would also pass, leaving behind the legacy of the woman who had protected her son with everything she had. Out of respect, Master P rarely speaks on what happened. He said that he won't discuss the incident while Pimp C and Mama Wes aren't here to tell their sides of the story. That silence says it all. A quiet acknowledgement of pain, peace, and everything left unsaid between two Southern legends.